Hey y'all, it's Troy Nicole, and today I am going to be helping you figure out how to pick the perfect romance for you. So, I was thinking about the fact that when I first started reading romance, it was such a long time ago that I kind of grew up and my tastes really changed. But a lot of people like get into romance later in life, and sometimes, especially when they're not used to it or they come from genres that are so far from fantasy, they have a hard time picking and choosing what they like. So I compiled a list. It's not that long, but I talk a lot, so it may end up being long anyway, of things you could do to figure out what your favorite things are and what you are looking for in romance. So the first one I'll say is to test out all tropes if you haven't already. This can get very annoying, especially if there are certain tropes you already know you don't like. But if you just go into them thinking you don't like them and don't try them out, you may end up missing on a trope that ends up being something of your favorite. For instance, I did a video, I want to say a week or two ago, where I talked about my least favorite romance tropes. And one of them was the dead spouse romance trope. I do hate that trope. Like, I really hate it. If it was done well, I would like it. And I still haven't come across one that I think is just done perfectly. But I did read The Wrong Kind of Love by, I think it was Alexi Ryan who wrote it, I think. And in that one, there was a dead wife. And I specifically hate it when it's a dead wife because they always give her such a hard time. And she's never just like just died and that be it. It's like she died and there was something big about it, and she was a bad person and yada yada yada. But I did read a book about a dead spouse and I ended up liking it. So test out all tropes, and once you've kind of been through all of them, then make a decision on what has been your taste and what has not. Typically, I'd say try out 3 of each one just to make sure that it's not just a specific writer you're not liking. But if you do try it out, if you get to book 2 and you're just like, this trope is not for me, then at least you know you'll steer clear of them, or maybe you will try them. I hate a bunch of tropes and I still read them, but I think you have to kind of be objective, because if you don't like something and a specific trope turns you off, then that whole book is probably going to be ruined for you anyway. So I try to remain objective about tropes that I dislike. One thing about romance is that your selection of romance coincides a lot with what you think is a solid relationship. And that may sound like I'm making it too deep, but honestly think about it. If you've never thought about it like this, if you read a book and something turns you off as a person, and it's not like toxic, and it's just something that you wouldn't find attractive in somebody, but millions of other people find attractive, then that's not that person's fault. It's not wrong. It's just something that you yourself could not get behind. So naturally, if there's something you wouldn't like in a partner, then it'll probably transfer into the books you read. And that goes for romance by itself, or romance being pit into other genres or subcategories of genres. So like if you read a fantasy book and one trope that you dislike is best friend's brother, or no, it's brother's best friend, brother's best friend, then chances are you probably won't fall for their love story and you will just cast it away. So I know it sounds cheesy and corny to say that it does coincide, but it does coincide. And here's an example how it does. A lot of people hate possessiveness in books. It does not matter if it's YA or if these motherfuckers are 30. People hate it, especially on booktube. It is such a big thing. So if someone were to come up to me and tell me, hey, what would you recommend if I am not into possessiveness, if I don't like when in books guys grab girls, when they are they don't really listen, they do whatever they want, they kind of show a side of selfishness, then I would tell you, if you go into looking for books and alpha male is one of the tropes, don't read it. Because let me tell you something, I love the possessiveness that is in books to a degree. Like there are some degrees that are just toxic and crazy, but then like I don't really mind the whole pulling someone away or gripping somebody and all that possessiveness. I actually like the alpha male. So if that is not your cup of tea, and to you that's not attractive in a partner, then naturally you won't read a book and like this love story if it's not attractive to you. Because if you try to force yourself to read the alpha male or something you just seriously don't like, you're gonna drive yourself crazy. Trust me, I do it all the time. Okay, and this is a bigger one that correlates to the past one I said, and that is, know that even if you find tropes you enjoy, you may not enjoy every single one it's done. Just because I really freaking love Friends to Lovers does not mean every Friends to Lovers has been for me. Because within there being tropes like enemies to lovers, romance to lovers, enemies to lovers, friends to lovers, brother's best friend, millionaires or billionaires or office romances, doesn't mean you're automatically going to like every single one. Because within those tropes, there will be tropes within that book that you may totally dislike. One trope I totally freaking hate is when there's like a side character that is a best friend of somebody and ends up dating the ex of the main character who's her best friend. I don't know if that sounded weird, but I just recently read a book like that and it pissed me off. I find it so shady. I don't like it, but it's not the main plot point trope. It's just a back burner trope. So you still have to figure out those things, because back burner tropes can really annoy you as well and like make or break a book. Like if there are side characters that end up going into a trope you hate and you like those side characters, it could still make your liking for the book vary. So again, just remember that when you're going through this, it's not a foolproof way to not get yourself irritated. There's really no way to not irritate yourself, but this helps a little bit. Okay, this may be one people don't think of, and this one's kind of hard to do, but it is filtering pet names. And this is specific to romance, erotica, and more like, you know, romancy, smutty type novels. Because if there are pet names that you dislike and that just make you cringe, you're not gonna want to read this book. For instance, I hate, and I mean hate, there is no other word for how I feel about this pet name, and that is kitten. It makes me cringe so bad. I actually would rather vomit, okay? If someone called me kitten, I'd probably break up with him because I just gross. But plenty of people find it endearing. For instance, a lot of people dislike baby girl. I don't really have a problem with that one. I don't really mind it. If I had a partner and they called me baby girl, I really wouldn't mind. But that one's kind of 50-50. Some people love it, some people hate it, and there's really not an in between. For example, one of my best friends, who's a reader, dislikes any pet names that your father would call you. So if your father calls you baby girl or sweetie pie or honey or anything like that, she finds it cringe. And I'm not meaning those, she doesn't have a problem with honey, but like, you know what I mean. Terms that normally dads would refer to their daughters as, she finds cringe. And trust me, you would think that you could just ignore it, but every time that word comes across, you'll just go, oh, why that one, why that one? But again, plenty of people love baby girl, plenty of people love kitten, plenty of people love cat, like, and I mean C-A-T, like instead of kitten, they'll call her a cat or a minx or whatever other endearment term there is. Shit, you may hate baby, you may hate sweetheart, you may hate honey. I don't know your life, but if you dislike it and maybe you pick up a book and you know you're in chapter 3 and then he starts calling somebody kitten or whatever you hate, chances are, because he's in a romance novel, he's gonna call her that throughout the entire book. So just remember to try to check that out. And if you want to read a book, and a lot of times people don't mention this because for a lot of people, especially romance readers, they pretty much can typically just zone out when they hate it. Like for instance me, I have read plenty of books where kitten is used and I just ignore it, but there's plenty of people who can't ignore it, even people who are in love with romance. So if you can't get past those things, then I would definitely say don't try it. Ask people around. If you're friends with somebody on Goodreads and you see that they read this book, Ask them about it. Ask them, is this pet name in it? Is this trope? Is this that? Because then it'll help a lot. Next one. I am very, very guilty of this one, and that is reading books I know I won't like just because it's hyped up. I have a problem with this quite a lot. I tend to read books with tropes that I know I'm just gonna dislike, and I dislike them, and I tend to not rate them. Like, if there is a romance novel, if there is chick lit, whatever, on my Goodreads you see that I have not rated, I probably read something that I knew I was gonna hate. And I just read it to see if I would find one that I liked. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you know, all in all, it's very hard to push past when you hate a certain trope. Okay, my last one I kind of already said, and that is, again, just ask people. Like, if you see that, hell, if you see that I read a book and you want to know, you can DM me on Twitter, you can DM me on, can you DM people on Goodreads? I don't know, you can DM me on Instagram if you don't have someone else to talk to, or if you don't know if someone's okay with you asking. Hell, if you see my review on Goodreads and you're like wondering something about it, you can comment on it and I'll respond maybe in the comments, or if I think it's a spoiler, I'll just contact you some other way. I don't really mind people asking me that. I make videos recommending people books, so obviously I wouldn't care, but you just never know. And I do understand that some people are a little bit scared to ask people things, because I'm always like that, like all the time. So I go into books blind all the time because I'm not a social person. Okay, so yeah, those were all my tips on getting into romance and how to find romance novels that you would enjoy and to not drive yourself crazy. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, go check out some of my other videos. I try to post once a week. And until next time, I will see you in the next one. Peace.